I wanted this video to give an idea on how you can tell if someone's been isolated and abused by narcissists, controllers, therapists, whatever, or by abused parents. The person is always isolated so that they can gain control of the person's thinking and then regrow the person's thought patterns into, like, the person could start very defensive, very angry, very strong, and after 5 years of isolation, the person becomes very submissive, very scared, very frightened of imaginary fears, depressed, suicidal, anxious, and a total mental mess. If they get the person in that state, then they can just go around telling everybody that used to know this person that the person has had a mental breakdown, that they're now mentally unstable, and are suffering from fears of the imaginary fears. And that's why the person can't be active in society as everyone else, because the person has issues that really aren't there, issues that have been pregnated into the person's mind by the people who are in control of them. And the observations of this case I know of is one of the things they do, which is extremely obvious, is they park. You got right sliders and windows. They park vehicles in front of the right sliders and windows. One is so that the person inside can't see out. Hold on. Also, so that other people can't see in. And the excuse will be the imaginary fear, but the reality is to keep the isolation up, so that the person isn't distracted, the person that they're mind controlling isn't distracted by what's going on out in the street, or who's passing by, or like if they looked out and they saw an old friend, old memories could come back, memories that they tried to suppress and not have that person think of. And the longer they don't think of it, the more they brainwash them into believing they never existed. I find it kind of an impossible task for them to even consider that, because no one can really control a human brain. But then again, getting on with that, there's the Hitler fact that he convinced millions of people to kill and slaughter neighboring nations as a good thing. I've never been able to figure that out, how he managed to do that. It's always been it's just been amazing that he got away with that. But he did. So anyway, another thing is they tell you that they must go with the person everywhere, or they always have control of where the person goes and what the person does. They blame everything insecure and wrong about the person on their mental health. In other words, in the case, I remember reading it recently, parents sexually abuse their children. The children grow up in fear of them getting caught. The mother went around telling everyone that the daughter had mental issues. And the reason she was anxious and suicidal and scared and whatever was all because of the daughter's fault. And so the mother used that muticism by proxy, which means make your daughter sick. She would make her daughter sick to keep her sick, so everyone would think through drugs and mental abuse, so that the daughter always was sick. And to the public, it looked like the daughter was always ill. And if someone turned up and said, "Hey, what's wrong with her?" They'd say, "Oh, we've been trying to help her, she's got mental issues, and it's very, very sad, and we all love her, and we all cherish her, and we want the best." Now, another point is, you're in a neighborhood, you're living in a house, and these people, or you move into a new neighborhood, or people move next door to you. Now, if the manipulators need the neighborhood behind them. So the first rule they do is they get out and they blend in with everyone, especially anyone who's close friends with the person they're seducing. So they get those people, they take them out, they sit down, spend hours talking to them. They tell stories about what they're trying to do and what way they're trying to help the victim and what the victim's afraid of. Can you please help us with this? It's such a hard trial trying to help them. And we really would appreciate you getting in there and helping us. It's called creating flying monkeys. So in their street, in that area, they create people who will back them up, support them, be there with them while they um, continue their, you know, and what their manipulation. So what they create is a bunch of enablers, flying monkeys, because they are backing up and supporting the bad people, but they have no idea they're doing it, and so they become flying monkeys, and the flying monkeys become enablers, which means they enable the abuse of the victim. They give the manipulators, the narcissist, full control of the victim because they surround the narcissist and the victim and protect them, and they'll spread the word because only trying to do what's right. They think this is the right thing to do. I've got to tell everyone about her fears and protecting her and what her what a terrible plight is. By doing that, creates a huge amount of sympathy for the narcissist. And if the narcissists get all the sympathy, then there's a large amount of people who um, will back them up. Another thing to look out for with a person who's groomed, if you get alone time with the person who's being manipulated, isolated, groomed, and you're suspicious, you become suspicious of the people who are living in the home with that person, yet the person who you think is a victim is always defending and always protecting and always want the best for the groomers and thinks very highly of them. That's a result of brainwashing. The thing that's always amazed me is in these situations, if you really have a look at it, there's a lot of obvious signs. I remember the one with the girl who was abducted by that family, by the husband and the wife, for sex when she was younger. People turned up at the house. In one case, I'm going by memory here, a welfare worker turned up at the house. There was a shed at the back. They created a bunch of sheds, which she was trapped in, and they made a new home for her in there. And they just go and have sex with her when they wanted. And they terrified her of coming out. So they said, if you step out of the bounds, we live in a rough area. People are going to attack and kill you, rah, 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 and all that sort of stuff. And the girl was terrified. She wouldn't leave the place. What they did was people had been to the house. One case, the police had done a search for something in the area. And from a helicopter, they'd seen the sheds and they said it looked abnormal. But no one ever went there and checked it. They just said it looked abnormal because it was this big, huge shed complex in the backyard. Very suspicious. Then, in another case, a welfare worker, this was written in a report, that's how we know it happened. A welfare worker went to the house and was talking to the couple about some complaints or something. I'm not really sure they were there. And she saw the complex shed area in the back. And she wrote it in her report. And I think she might have said someone should look into it or something. Nothing was done. There are signs, but because people believe in the people, they don't believe in the signs. There was one up in Auckland here in New Zealand where a woman was given a child, a baby, and every time the SIPS worker, the welfare worker, turned up to check on the child, the woman would sit downstairs with her and they'd have a cup of coffee, chatting about the weather. And the woman became so good at manipulating the SIPS worker with friendliness, kind words, right, all that sort of stuff. The woman never went up and checked the child. She'd go there and look forward to the good times, and they'd yak and laugh and joke, and off she'd go without even. She wrote in her report. I mean, afterwards, when she was questioned after the child was murdered, they asked her and they said, "Why didn't you go up and check the child?" And she said, A woman like that would never kill a child, would never abuse a child. She was such a lovely woman." When Jimmy was born, my son, the woman from Plunkett would come here, and I became very angry with the woman because she was of the same race as my wife. She'd turn up, she'd do the basics with Jimmy, and then they'd sit down and have a cup of coffee and talk for about an hour and a half and laughing and joking about all sorts of things, and then she'd leave. And I said to my wife, she hardly spent any time with Jimmy. And she said, "Oh, well, that's how they do it these days. Back in the old days, when I was young, I remember with my sisters, everything was devoted to the child, the weighing, the measuring, everything. It's a totally different system." But people, manipulators know that people can be seduced by kindness, by vanity, by telling the person what a wonderful person they are. "How are you? What have you been up to today?" As if they care. Uh, I want to know all about it. Let me know. And then they sit there, please that you're talking to them because it gets you off the subject. And you're not listening to what your instincts. You're not, you see, in these cases where the authorities saw something wrong with this complex, then they knew something abnormal and strange. Even the neighbours did. There's something weird was going on over there. But no one investigated. No one had a look. No one tried. They all just pushed aside their instincts for it's none of our business what goes on over the neighbours. It's nothing. It's no interest of ours. Just look the other way and get on with their lives. They're a bit weird, so what? People are weird all everywhere. Just leave them be. While some poor young girl spent, I think it was like 10 years abused, sexually abused by this couple. She was trained how to be a lesbian. She was trained how to do all sorts of heterosexual filth, and she could have been saved many years earlier. And this is the one who eventually ended up getting groceries and going into the, I think it was a town, into the town, mingling with people and coming back home because she's finally been groomed so heavily into trusting the groomers that she trusted them. They became her life. And that's how people groom people. And then when they get older, they will back up, support, love, and protect the people who groom them. But the people who groom them have no love and affection for them. They just want to use them. And in the case of a house, where you're looking at the place, note abnormal behavior. And if you are suspicious, be suspicious, investigate, make note, write down number plates. And you never know when something comes up in the future. You could be part of the person could be groomed for a pedophile ring in the person's children. And so while you're taking numbers down or noting what's happening, you're not being nosy, you're just doing that. And then if that comes up, you can hand all that to the police. So other things to look out for is how they treat you and how they limit you access to the other person, how they limit you access to the yard, how their comings and goings, how they react, the people that come and go, how they treat you, and especially the fear thing. Is it really something to be? If the victim is afraid, fear is one of the strongest ways to control a person and to control the flying monkeys. Find out if they've told you there's something to fear, and the what you think is a victim has told you what to fear. Find out if you really need to fear it, because if you don't, then the victim's been lied to by the people with the victim, and you've been lied to by the victim and the people that have lied to the victim. Therefore, there's nothing to be scared of. So why are they saying it? What are they trying to do? They're trying to isolate a person. They're trying to brainwash and mind control that person. They're trying to be their minders, and they have an agenda. Off my headache, I'm going to do this video of this, what to look out for, uh, every couple of months, I think. I'm not sure. I can add to it as things come up. I never plan my videos. I never write them down or anything. I just get an idea in my head to come down, and I sit down and I talk into my cell phone, record it, and then use that to hopefully help somebody. The whole idea is to help people. Like if I see one instance, whether they're caught or not, and someone watches a video and says, "Yeah, that that looks like my neighbours. My neighbours are like that, and they were very nice to me. And yeah, I run errands for them. Yeah, I do this for them. Yeah, I do that for them. Hold on a minute. Is there something strange going on over there?" Get you thinking. Otherwise, this is why the incest and pedophiles and like get away with stuff. Everyone thinks it's not their business. So remember, with pedophiles, with incest, with sex abuse, with other kinds of victim abuse, someone's a victim. They need your help. They don't need you to be PC and cool and not there for them. Even if they love and adore their captors, their controllers, once you free them, they'll click. So think about it, please.